Hey, welcome to Gridiron Gurus. I'm Travis Lazarczyk for the Kennebec Journal and Morning Sentinel. With me, as always, is Drew Bonifant. Drew, how are you?
Doing all right. How are you?
I am swell. Our guest this week is Jake Rogers, head coach at Nokomis. Coach, Nokomis is kind of in uncharted territory for you guys.
Yep.
First regional final with a win over MCI last week. And in talking to you a few times about this, not just in regards to this win, but, from winning 6 games last year, and you guys keep setting the bar a little higher at Nokomis, and you have a very pragmatic view about it all. When I kind of, just talk about that a little, how you guys are really keeping a good job of it, just one game at a time, and, it doesn't...
You can't get ahead of it, because if you get ahead of it, you're going to miss out on some stuff. So we really are concentrating on that moment that's right in front of us and worry about that, and that's all we can do. And once it's over, enjoy it for the night and move on. Got to get ready for the next one. So
Sure.
Do you find that when those come in the playoffs, though, you have to almost tell yourself that as much as your players?
No, I've been that way probably since I've been coaching.
Wow.
I don't get too excited with the wins, and I dwell on the loss for a little bit longer than the wins. So the losses always linger a little bit longer. So
Let's look at this MCI game, because you didn't just beat the number 1 seed, you shut them out, and you held them to about 105 yards.
Yeah.
Which their offense, which is such a pound it running game, you would think in the weather would be suited for that, but you completely made sure that didn't happen. What was the key to that defensive effort?
Our DNs and DTs played phenomenal. They held that line. They never got driven back, and playing against a team like that's the main thing for our defense, and that allows our second level guys to go as fast as they can, and they can flow right to the ball. And we did that over and over again, just because our D line was very dominant in that. Right in the trench there, because that mud just made it hard to root anybody out. So a lot of stalemates that night.
Yeah, and that kind of started in the second half of the first game against them. You guys ended up losing 24-21 in overtime, but you turned a 21-0 deficit late in the second quarter into a tie game in the fourth. And in that game, again, they just didn't move the ball that much in the second half.
Yeah, that's what really sparked it, really. They built so much confidence from that second half, even though we lost in overtime. They knew physically we could do it, and we could shut them out. They believe in what we're doing, and everybody knows their job. So it wasn't a hard thing for them to come in on Monday, and they really felt that they could shut them out. So, and they did, shockingly. I was impressed with them. They did a great job.
Right.
Did you get a sense that the team was thinking more going into that week, we can do this, and, that if these things go our way, we can get this win, or more, we're going to win?
Right from the get-go, it was going to be a gunner. I didn't see any doubt in their mind throughout the week, and we had a great week of practice, and just mentally it was great. They being rivals, they were not overwhelmed with it like they were last year. They did not care who it was. It could have been any team out there. So, and that was what I really was hoping we were going to get from them, is don't worry about the emblem on the helmet and the name on the jersey. Worry about them just being an opponent, and they really did. The crowd was good to us, and it really helped us out where they didn't put that emotion of them being a rival. So,
you talked about the play of the defensive line being so crucial to that win. How much of that was just they just played better this time than they did in Week 8? And how much of that was taking things that they learned from Week 8 and being able to apply them this time around?
It was just really playing a little bit better.
Yeah.
We started out slow, and that was a real problem for us throughout the year. It takes us a minute to get going, and we didn't have that as an issue this game. And the guys up front came right out guns a-blazing, and they didn't slow down at all. So it was good to see.
And offensively, you come out and score the first touchdown of the game quickly. I think it was a 6 or 7 play drive.
Yeah, something like that.
And just get the points on the board and give your defense something to work with.
Our theory throughout that week was we need to score immediately, and we needed to get up by at least 2 scores. And that just kept being our mantra, was once we're up 2 scores, we're going to put them in a bind, because we knew their offense isn't really suited to score that fast. And that really was that's what really helped us along the whole way, just knowing we just needed to get one more.
And you didn't put them in situations where they had a short field to turn the ball around, turnover,
it was
like that.
Every guy I've mentored under, they're big believers in field position, and when the field's bad, I really believe in field position, and we kept them on the other side of the 50 for the most of the night. And if you can do that, you're probably going to be pretty successful.
Talk about the touchdown that you guys scored early in the fourth quarter. David Wilson, was it?
David, yep.
Just picking up a blocked field goal and just being heady and knowing it was a live ball and taking it in. Yeah,
player making a play.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so smart. And the thing on the film, if you watch it real close, Andrew's actually the ball gets kicked into Andrew, our holder, Haining, and he takes it and he swats it away. And when he swats it away, David saw it and picked it up and ran it in. And it's just playing to the whistle, and the kids just being players, you know.
Is that something that you had reminded them now on a blocked field goal? It's a live ball?
We talk about, you know, a short kick a lot of the times. You know, if it's on a field goal, if it's short, we got to cover. You know, we preach that because some teams, they really rep that stuff, and we do try long field goals. But telling them, you know, go for, you know, play fast and pick up a block kick, we don't cover that. But we just preach, you know, play to the whistle and go, and it's up to the kids, and they just kept playing. So can't ask any more of them out of that. I never seen anything like it. It was quite unique.
Do you get the sense that this team feels like a Cinderella team, underdog team, anything like that? I mean, it's not so much because of a low seeding or a bad record, but just because of the programs you've had to beat to get to this point.
Yeah, I mean, and that was our mindset going in. We wanted to challenge ourselves because we knew once you get to the playoffs, you can't avoid good teams. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to face them during the regular season, and I think that's helped us along the way because it made us think of where we need to be. Because when we were we weren't sure who we were at the beginning of the year, and when we had a couple of our losses, and they knew they had to get better. We had to practice better. We had to do everything a little bit better, and I think that's what's helped us along the way.
I mean, I have to look it up, but if you guys didn't play the toughest schedule in Class C, you're right up there.
I would say us and MCI, because us and MCI more or less played the exact same schedule.
Yeah, and I think the only team that you played that didn't make the playoffs was Mount Desert Island, correct?
Yeah, and they
are just missed. Yeah.
They might have been the best non-playoff team I've seen in a long time. We also played Hamden, who didn't make the playoffs.
Oh, right. I forgot you had two crossover games.
Yeah, MDI was a very good team. They have multiple kids that are very dangerous. So
yeah, the point is, you guys are ready for this time of year. When
that was our goal all the way around. Start of the year when the kids saw the schedule was you're going to be challenged and you got to figure it out.
You guys have Herman now in the regional final. It's going to be at a neutral site at Hamden Academy on Saturday afternoon at 1. You haven't played Herman, Coach, since week 3. They got you 25-7.
Yep.
What stands out about them? I know everyone's heard of Garrett Trask, their quarterback.
You know, the guys that go unnoticed, those guys up front. You know, they have a guard. I believe it's Kenyon.
I'm not sure.
He's very good, 74. He's a very good player. He goes up against one of our better players, James Boyd, and it's a good battle. I mean, that was the one kid that really took care of James, and there weren't many kids in that James faced that could handle him.
Sure.
So that's one thing that he knows is coming. They have a young center that's very good. He makes no bad snaps. I believe he's a freshman, but he's a great player. He blocks low. He's aggressive. So it's really that is the aspect that no one noticed. Like everyone sees the skill guys, which are phenomenal. They have 5 kids that all are very good skill kids, but it's those 5 kids up front that I notice, and
sure.
I make sure.
Well,
my
without
guys
those
notice.
guys, then Trask and Pomeroy.
Well, I think Trask could probably still do it by himself, but
he's had a year.
Yes, he has.
Is that a line that strikes you as one that's just kind of more hard to move and hard to just penetrate through, or a line that can get out there and move and pull and all that?
They're not a wing T line. You know, the guards aren't out destroying safeties and corners, but anybody within that box, that 5-yard box, they're gonna get. Mm-hmm. And they're very hard to get penetration on because they hold their ground real well. They establish a point of contact and they keep it. So that's going to be a real challenge for us.
Not that you want to tip your hand too much here, but I mean, is the answer then, okay, we got to find a way to get through those guys, or is it more, okay, let them get in there, we got to find
We're just going to keep doing what we do, do it better.
Right.
And that's more or less how we go about it. Our defense, I mean, I think I've said it to you guys, it's not very complex. It's very simple. It's just you better do better. You know, if it's failing, do better. You know, make better reads, make better steps, and that's really where we've progressed the last 4 weeks is they've been executing what we want them to execute a little bit better. So it's been a long time since we played them. So we're a very different team, and they are too. So it should be interesting on Saturday.
Yeah. Did they compare to anyone else that you've played when you look at them?
Personnel-wise, the best team I could compare them to this year is Levitt. I mean,
Sure.
Levitt skill-wise is a little different, but they're similar in the fact that they have 5 kids at the skill position that are dangerous. And there's really not many teams that can say that, including the quarterback, who's you could say runs like an eye back. He's elusive, he's fast, he's powerful, and the Hathaway kid's the same way. So, I mean, it's very comparable that way. I mean, Levitt's skill kids are a little bit different, but they're all dangerous.
Is there sort of any kind of buzz or excitement around? I mean, you're probably not in the school all day, but are the kids talking about teachers wishing them well, and it's coming up every day?
It's been a little chaotic with
Yeah.
all the news cameras and stuff, but we just shrug it off. It's get your interview, we'll move on. I got to stop practice. Let's go. I don't have lights. You got to get practice going. Gets dark at 4:30, so it's one of those things. But we try not to. We're preaching to the kids that they can't get too excited about where they're at because it can affect where you're going to be.
Sure.
So we're really trying to keep them level-headed.
And that's something from your background coaching for so many years at Lawrence, which seem to make a deep playoff run every year. You can kind of tell them from experience, hey, take care of the business, and the rest of the stuff is.
It really makes a difference.
There,
it really makes a difference because it's all well and good to enjoy the moment and everything, but if you dwell on that one moment, you're going to miss out on a few others. So it's nice to have it, but you got to move on. Got to move on.
Okay.
We talked when you were last here about the team's progress that is made from the tough season 2 years ago to making the playoffs and then to this year. How much does that just help pave the way for the success of these games? Not just handling big crunch time moments, but even just approaching a game like an MCI game to have that sort of.
And it really goes right back to having those struggles that we had early on. That was kids figuring themselves out and how they have to change how they get ready for a game. I mean, it can be from how they handle that school, that day in school, how they're going to handle the bus ride, how are they handling the locker room stuff. These are all things that we've had to go through this year. And playing that tough schedule has really helped, and because you don't get that great carryover year to year out because the group changes.
Sure.
Kids' attitudes change. They might be into different things, and they might have different friends, and it changes the way the dynamic works. And if you have a couple of seniors, it could be a small class, but if you have 4 seniors that are great leaders and they control that locker room, it can be tough to start out. And then who's going to be the leader, who's going to be the guy that's going to tell people how to do it the right way. And it takes some finding out time. And I feel that the first 4 weeks was that for us, just figuring it out. So
it seems like with the good senior class you have, leaders have emerged, and
they've popped up. They've understood that we got to do it together. It can't be one guy. It can't be 2 guys carrying the load. It's got to be everybody. And I think they've really understood that as the season's gone on.
Okay. All right, we'll look at some of the other regional finals that are going around the state this week. We'll start with Class C South because the winner of your game will face either Freiburg or Levitt in the state game. Now, 3 of the 4 teams left in Class C are all new at this. You guys and Herman, whoever goes, is going to be in their first state championship game. Freiburg hasn't won a state championship since 1963, which I think back then someone just said, hey, you're the state champion. Congratulations, here's a trophy. There was not any playoff system or anything. Levitt's been here quite a bit. Freiburg beat Levitt 13-0 a few weeks ago in the regular season. Coach, you've seen Levitt. You're familiar with them.
They actually beat them the week after we played them.
Okay.
Yep,
So you softened them up for them.
Yeah, well, I know they did have a couple of kids out that week they played Freiburg, and I think that having those kids back will probably help them out a little bit.
Well, like Levitt, you're getting ready for a team that beat you in the first game. What's something that maybe you look at as going into a game against an opponent that got you once?
Really hone in on the mistakes that you made and see if they're correctable. Maybe it's a scheme mistake that you're just not correcting. Maybe it's a blocking assignment. Maybe it's a bad route. Find that chink in the armor and figure it out. And if it's not that, maybe it's just an attitude.
Sure.
So it can be multiple things. It can be a bad coaching call. It can be kids maybe they weren't up for it because it was Freiburg, and maybe they overlooked them just because of the name. But from what I've heard, the name
Yeah.
means something.
Well,
I hear they're pretty good.
Yeah, Freiburg this year, I saw them last week against Gardner, and they won 26-7 and drew. Since week one when they lost to Lisbon, Freiburg has gone undefeated, haven't given up more than a touchdown in any game. So this is one of the best defenses in the state right now.
Yeah, this is one of the best matchups of all the regional finals. I put it up there with Kennebec Marshwood and everything like that. Because you could make a really good argument that Freiburg, especially with that win over Levitt, has been the best team in C South over the second half of the year. And like you said in that game, they rolled with that win over Yarmouth, the win over Gardner. They're playing at a high level, and so is Levitt. So, and you always get that factor you were hitting on it earlier when you get that team, the rematch, and the two good teams in a loss. Sometimes the advantage shifts to the team that lost. So you wonder if that's going to play into this game, and then emotion and everything, getting back to the one team that got us, sort of thing. If that kicks in.
We saw this last year with MCI that beat three consecutive teams that beat them in the regular season to win their state championship, beating Winslow, beating Mount Desert Island, and then beating Cape Elizabeth. So it's doable.
Yeah, I just think the key with that is Levitt's got so many people who can do damage out of the backfield. Wyatt Hathaway has had a great season. When you look at Damon Calder, Mark Herman, Cam Jordan, guys who they can give the ball to and get big gains and scores from. So, I mean, you saw Freiburg up close in that Gardner game. Do they have a defense that you think can shut down that Levitt game? I mean, they held.
Well, they're very good against very good against the run.
Yeah,
they just Coach Joe White from Gardner said after that game, they just seem to be in every gap at the point of attack, and it's tough to get going on that. Now Levitt's spread offense is a little different than Gardner's come at you with a lot of traps and stuff. So we'll see. Maybe Levitt was stopped before, so.
Yeah, and maybe that's the key. That's the key for Levitt is that ability to not just do one thing over and over, and if it's not working, well, it's what we do. So just keep hitting against the wall. They can change it up. They can find different things to do. You wonder if they'll use versatility to their side to have the upper hand in that game.
Yeah. All right, we have some vacuuming going on outside in the hallway, so we apologize if you hear it in the background. But we'll move on now to the B North Championship. We got a couple teams that maybe when the playoffs started, people didn't expect them to be here. Number 4, Lawrence, is going to number 3, Brunswick. Both teams had upset wins on the road last week. Coach, you being from the Lawrence family, I'm sure you've kind of kept up with the Bulldogs and how they're doing.
I keep up with the Bulldogs, and I keep up because I played for Kevin Cooper. Not Kevin.
Dan,
thank you.
Sure.
I played for Dan when I was in high school, so I always keep up with Brunswick too, and it's just the way they coach. I like seeing how they do things. So I think it's going to be a good battle. From what I heard, the regular season game, Brunswick came out with a big lead, but Lawrence came back. So I would expect a close game. Just being very similar to the way the two teams run the wing tee. Yeah. They're playing against one another. It's you're playing yourself more or less, so it should be interesting.
Yeah, no secrets in this rivalry either. This is the 5th time they've met in the playoffs in the last 10 years. So.
Oh wow, yeah, and I mean it's just a credit to the coaching to Coach Cooper that Brunswick has been able to do what they've done of late. I mean, because they're banged up at some important positions. They were without Cam Hathaway last week, and still without Owen Richardson. Those are probably their the best ball carrier from last year and the best ball carrier this season, and they still are able to control the line of scrimmage and just hang on to the ball and win the possession battle against Coney in the second half. I mean, they've done a really good job, not just staying afloat considering the injuries they've had, but getting better. It's a really good example of resiliency going on there in Brunswick.
Yeah, and Lawrence hasn't lost since that loss to Brunswick, almost a month ago, and towards the end of the regular season. And it seems like in Lawrence's offense, it's a different player each week. Last week it was Kyle Carpenter getting a lot of carries and going for I think about 181 yards and 3 touchdowns. Some weeks it's Isaiah Schooler. Some weeks it's fullback Alex Higgins. So when you got different guys you can go to, all right, it's not working up the middle with Higgins. We can go to the outside with Schooler or Carpenter, and you don't have to rely on just one thing and pound your head against the wall and hope that it happens.
How much size does Lawrence have? I haven't had a chance to see them this year, because that's something I wonder if that could be something where you can get Brunswick, because Coney doesn't have that. They have some speed, some ability to get around the side, but they weren't able to really attack Brunswick size-wise. So Brunswick actually had the bigger.
Lawrence isn't small, but they're not giants.
No, because I went to the Mount Blue playoff game and I felt Mount Blue had the size advantage, but physicality, Lawrence had that.
Okay.
But I would say they're average size. They're typical Lawrence team. Guards are fast and athletic, and tackles are not super tall, but rugged and willing to down block. So it's nothing that's changed since I
and
left.
Higgins at fullback is basically a guard with a 5-yard head start.
Yes.
He's a converted offensive tackle from last year, but they said, look, you can run, you
Very
can hit,
good
let's
lineman.
make you a blocking fullback and give you the ball too.
Yes, the games I saw, he was very good in the Mount Blue game too that I saw, and it really, it's sometimes it depends with the wing tee. It's what's the defense giving you. If they really want to stop the fullback, that usually will open up the halfback, or it's going to open up the waggle for the quarterback, and you got to play that chess match. What is hitting when it's the wing tee, and if it's hitting real good, everybody has fun. But I knowing Brunswick and how they go about it, they know the wing tee as good as anybody. So I imagine they're going to really focus in on stopping Alex and making sure someone else beats him. I think.
Right. Now, the winner of this game is going to get the B South winner that a lot of people are calling the state championship game. It's Marshwood and Kennebunk rematch. Kennebunk won the regular season game in the regular season finale, I believe, 17-14. Drew, I imagine we're going to get another great game this time around.
Yeah, I think we were saying it last week. I thought I was kind of buying into Kennebunk all season long as being the power even in their region ahead of Marshwood, and I was surprised that Marshwood gave them as close a test as they did in that game. So yeah, I can't. Unless there's stuff that Kennebunk just wasn't ready for, or Marshwood just wasn't ready for from Kennebunk's side. That now they will. Maybe it throws the game. It throws the final score a little more out of whack. But I just got to think it's going to be another match between two good teams goes right down to the wire.
Yeah, and coach, you've got to know as a coach yourself that when Marshwood's so well coached, their coach has been poring over the film looking for the smallest little detail that they can exploit from Kennebunk and change the outcome this time around.
I don't know the rest of his staff, but I know Rotzko's credentials, and you're not going to find anybody with more knowledge of what they want to do than him. His resume speaks for itself, and I imagine he's going to find something that he can take advantage of against Kennebunk. So if Kennebunk's smart, they've added to what they've done since they played him last time, because he's going to have an answer. He's going to have something.
For those who don't know, Matt Marshwood coach Alex Roscoe had a long and successful career in Massachusetts before coming to Marshwood, and won many, many state championships down there before he's won, I think, 3 now in Marshwood. Maybe.
I've lost count.
Yeah,
they're always
as soon as
there.
he got to Marshwood, they became an instant contender, so they're always there. D South, Drew, we have an upstart Oak Hill, the number 7 seed coming into these playoffs, playing top seeded, undefeated, grand belt champion Wells kind of thing.
I believe Oak Hill's the lowest seed remaining in the playoffs. Yeah, so it is very much the underdog, us against the world, no pressure on us, whatever cliche you want to throw out there, and they're feeling it and they're embracing it. They know a lot of people figure that they were going to be there, so they're. And I heard one player just saying, "We know football season's coming to an end soon, so why not just keep it going a little longer?" And I think that they're going to have a better showing. It was 50. I think it was
56-13.
It was 56-13 last time they played. So, but it was kind of that same Oak Hill story that we've thrown out there a while. They were there at the start of the game. They were tied 13-13 earlier in the second quarter. So the Nuggets are there to grab onto for confidence that you can run with these guys. It's just a matter of doing it for 48 minutes. And it's hard to see anybody doing that against Wells, not just Oak Hill, but just the way Wells has taken to these past few seasons. But I think we're going to see a closer game. I think we're going to see, a one-score game going into the second half kind of thing, because Oak Hill has gotten better. We talk every week about what Gavin Rostron does for that team. Not just on the offensive side, but on the defensive side, too. I believe he leads the team in picks. Stays said he's become arguably the best defensive player. If he has a really big game, and it needs to be a really big game, Oak Hill can be challenging, can be hanging in there late.
Yeah. Now, Oak Hill's first 2 playoff games both went overtime. Mm-hmm. The win at Lisbon and then last week's win at Madison. Do you think that will play into it at all? And being tested in closer games, a little confidence from that?
Yeah, I think because throughout the regular season, the story was they lost games that were close. Just a play or two away, they just weren't making that play or two, and now they are. And it's big for confidence, but it's also big. The players were saying, not just Coach Doucette was saying, but the players themselves were saying too. we go over these situations all the time. Our practices, we try to create that playoff feel, that, got to have it sort of environment. And so, yeah, I expect that to translate into that game. To see the team be, be tight, not tight as in nervous, but tight as in, not messing up in big spots. Again, it still comes down to, can you stop Tyler Bridge or can't you? And I don't know if they can. I mean, I don't know, and nobody's been able
Nobody
to.
has
So,
yet.
Yeah.
The winner of that game will face the North winner of Bucksport Foxcroft. This was a 1-point Foxcroft win in the regular season, 21-20. Now, Bucksport's coming off a short week because their game against Mananoka got moved to Monday night, which they scored 77 points in. Coach, playing in a short week, would that be a factor, do you think? Or?
I mean, this time of year, you're not going through a 2.5-hour practice, so
Right.
it really shouldn't affect them that much. If it was a 4-day, what is it? They're going to get 5
They're going to play
days.
Saturday night, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. So, I mean, outside of bumps and bruises, which take 2 or 3 days, but I doubt they're running reps. So, I mean, it's get you guys healed up, get treatment and get them back on the field and for the game time, more or less, I would imagine is what they're going to do.
It's not like they're unfamiliar opponents. They've
Yeah.
played each other so many times over the years that they know exactly what the other's going to do, I would think. All right, now finally we have the 2 Class A regional finals. In the North, we have Oxford Hills versus Portland. Portland won the first game of the season when these two met, 17-14. But Oxford Hills is coming off a couple big wins, and think, Drew, that they can make a game of this and turn that 3-point loss around?
Yeah, I still favor Portland in that game, but I think Oxford Hills. I mean, they got the win over Bonnie Eagle earlier in the season, correct?
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that was kind of the win that put them on the map as a serious team, not just a team that was kind of going through a softer schedule in the North region. So yeah, I think that's a team that if Portland's not completely on their game, can definitely pull the upset, so to speak. I mean, lower seed, not that that's a shocker, but yeah, I can see them doing it.
And in the A South, we have Scarborough, the defending state champions, playing at Thornton. This is a rematch of a regular season game that was Thornton 35, Scarborough 13. Drew, what do the Red Storm have to do to turn this into a win this time around?
Start fast, score early, just kind of get the game going from their angle. I mean, you got to think that if Thornton goes out there and it's 14-0 before you really know what's happened, that it's kind of hard to stem that momentum. If one of the 2 seeds is winning an A this week, and I'm thinking it's Oxford Hills over Scarborough. It just feels like Thornton Academy has been a machine all season long. But you talked about the experience edge that Marshwood might have over Kennebunk. Maybe Scarborough has that over Thornton Academy, having played in the state championship game last year. A lot of key players in that team are back. Wonder if that'll translate into a better showing.
Coach, when you're in those games, can you feel the mental advantage that you may or may not have? I'm thinking when you were at Lawrence, a lot of those times you guys would take the field, and in the opponent's head, you're already up 14-0.
You would see it right out of the gate. Usually opening kickoff, you'd be on kick return, kickoff, and it's the speed and kids willing to hit each other. And you can usually see if you've got that other team psychologically bothered. Because they kind of widen their path a little bit, and the D-line may not be super aggressive, so you usually know within the first couple of minutes.
You can tell after a series they don't want to be here.
Yeah, and you got to pounce and get after it really quick.
Well, especially now with the 35-point rule, where if you're up, the clock just runs. And,
Yes, it's a good one to
keep the thing
have.
going, and lower your risk for injury. All right, well, that's going to do it for us this week. For Drew, for Coach, I'm Travis. Be sure to tune in next week when we talk about the state championship games on Gridiron Gurus. Thanks for watching.